this episode. I wanted to come on here and do something a little different, kind of go back to doing something that I started to do maybe in December or even January with this podcast, just in terms of releasing bonus episodes where it's just me, sharing something that I've been thinking about or something that I've been dealing with. And I have been thinking about doing this for weeks. Literally, I have like a whole list of ideas and things I want to talk about, but I've been having a hard time actually sitting down with my microphone and recording these things. And I think it's because I have been feeling uncomfortable about being more vulnerable. And it's interesting that I've been feeling that way because I have been so vulnerable in the last 6 months. And so to then have moments or weeks where I don't want to be vulnerable, to me that felt like, am I being hypocritical or am I not practicing what I'm preaching? And then as you can imagine, you start to go down this rabbit hole of negative self-talk and feeling like crap. And all of this just to say, I had this realization this morning when I woke up, which was, it's not hypocritical. In fact, it's exactly what I've been talking about and what every guest on Seek the Joy has been talking about, which is that vulnerability ebbs and flows. Our ability to step outside of ourselves, step outside of our shells, that accidentally rhymed, but our ability to do that and to share more of who we are and be authentic in that way and not fear vulnerability in that way ebbs and flows. And so I think it's important for me to say that on this podcast because this isn't easy for me the same way it isn't easy for you. Sharing so much of myself or feeling like I'm not sharing enough, and that's a lot of self-judgment that I'm placing on myself. All of it isn't easy. And so this morning when I woke up, I felt sad and self-love was like not even in my line of vision. I've been having a hard time recently because, as some of you know, or if you are brand new to Seek the Joy, now you'll know, I am a brand new lawyer. I passed the California bar exam in November of 2017, got sworn in December, and I have been spending the last 3.5 months, on the full-time job search, searching for my next opportunity. What am I going to do? And what's so interesting is that I don't want to practice law. And it sounds crazy to so many people who have a certain vision of what it means to be a lawyer, or, they think, oh my gosh, you just went through 3 years plus studying for the bar, plus all of your undergrad career, to get to this point, and now you don't want to practice? And it's like, no, I don't. I want to use my skills and my talents and my abilities and my background and everything that I learned through law school and beyond, and before that, to do something in the advocacy space, in the policy space, to work to promote and protect our environment and climate change, and even if it's not the environment and it's social justice issues and advocating on behalf of women and children. And I mean, the list goes on. And so I've been on this full-time job hunt, and I do that while also working part-time on other projects. And I have this podcast, which I'm so grateful. I can't even tell you just how much having this podcast has changed my life. And it's been my daily and my nightly companion when things get tough, or I start to feel overwhelmed or unsure of myself, or something I do daily is I question myself. And if you've been following along on Instagram or Facebook, you know that I've been questioning myself because almost every other post is about fear. And am I doing the right thing? Am I listening to the signs correctly? Am I listening to my gut correctly? Am I trusting my intuition? And if you're listening to this the way that I'm listening to myself talk in this moment, there's a lot of self-judgment in those questions that I'm posing to myself on a daily basis. So all of this just to say that I am going through a huge transition in my life. I am embarking on a career path that for many feels unconventional or untraditional. And I can't tell you how many informational interviews I've had with people where then they say to me, that's different, or well, are you sure that's what you want to do? And well, I really think you should do this instead. And if there's one thing that I can take away from the last three and a half months of networking with so many new people every single week, and I'm so grateful that they take the time to chat with me and share their experiences and what they've learned, and to see if there's a way that they can help me, which I don't go into those conversations thinking how can they help me. I really go into those conversations thinking, what can I learn from them? What can I learn from their experiences, and how did they, get to where they are today, which is also so much of what I'm doing on this podcast, and the wonderful people who I get to speak to, and then I have the opportunity to share those conversations and in their words of wisdom with all of you. But if there's one thing that I've taken away from this is that you have to stick to who you are. You have to stay true to who you are and what you believe in and what you want your life to look like. And if that means walking an untraditional, unconventional path, then you've got to do it. Because at the end of the day, it's your life and how you want to spend your life and your time and your career. The last thing that I want to do, or the last thing that I want for any of you or any of my friends or my family or whoever, is to find yourself in a position in your life 10 years from now where you hate your job, you hate waking up in the morning, you dread the alarm clock, you feel like in Harry Potter, when the Death Eaters come and they're sucking the soul out of them. That's the last thing I want for my life and for any of you. And so it's been a rough, kind of bizarre, kind of interesting 3.5 months. And if you've been following along, you also know that I didn't pass the bar exam right away. So that meant my life was, in some respects, put on a different path anyway. Things were derailed or things took more time, but the truth is everything is right on time and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And so it takes me kind of going through this mental conversation with myself to remind myself that that's actually the case, that actually everything is okay. So now to go back to what I was saying at the beginning, I woke up this morning feeling really sad and overwhelmed, and self-love was not in my line of vision. I was kind of going down that rabbit hole of the negative self-talk. And I literally stood in the kitchen this morning and said to myself, you are a loser. What is going on? And then it was oh my God, Sydney, you cannot speak to yourself this way. You are not a loser. Look at what you're doing. Look at the people you get to talk to. You created a friggin' podcast with no media experience, no idea what you were doing, and you've become your own expert. You're not a loser. And so my point in sharing this on this bonus podcast episode, which I hope to do more solo episodes like this one, is to say, if you are going through a hard time professionally, personally, in relationships, in your career, at school, whatever it might look like, with your health, cannot forget your health. Whatever it is that you might be struggling with, remember, it's happening for a reason, and there's a greater purpose to it. And at the end of the day, you are strong, you are special, you are important. I feel like I'm the woman from The Help right now. You is kind, you is smart, you is important. But seriously, remind yourself of that and take 5 minutes. No, take 30 seconds today and look at yourself in the mirror and remind yourself of who you are, why you're special, and that no matter what is going on, you are not a loser, because you're not. And now I'm going to start crying. But when we are stuck comparing ourselves to other people, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. It's easy to say, why is my life not picking up the way that I want it to? It's easy to look at circumstances in your surroundings and feel defeated. It's harder to look at yourself in the mirror and be proud. It's harder to compliment yourself. It's harder to wrap yourself up in the blanket of self-love, which to me looks like being kind and compassionate and taking a break from the overwhelm and unplugging. It's harder to do those things when you're wrapped up in the day-to-day. And so I think we're going to call this episode Self-Love Who Dis? Because where is she right now? And it's about finding her again. And something that we've been talking a lot about on this podcast, and you'll hear it more in the episodes coming out in the next month, is we think that self-love and loving ourselves is a destination. We think that it means we arrive there and then we never have a bad day again. We arrive there and then we never struggle. And the truth is, being human means we struggle, but it's also our choice at the end of the day with that struggle to love ourselves and to be kind and compassionate and to do things that bring us joy. And so if you are having a bad day, if you're struggling, if you feel overwhelmed, it doesn't mean that you're doing life wrong. It doesn't mean that you're doing self-love wrong. It means you're doing it right, because the ebb and the flow is part of the journey. So don't let the bully in your head win. Don't let that negative self-talk take control. Don't let yourself get stuck. And so I want to share with you 3 things that I did this morning and today to get myself out of this space. The first one was to call my mom. And so call someone in your life who you love and who loves you and who will let you share the feelings and the emotions that you're experiencing without judgment. And for you, it may not be your mom. It might be your best friend. It might be a coworker. It might be your boyfriend or your girlfriend. Just reach out, because when you're going through times of getting stuck in your head, the worst thing that you can do is to remain stuck there. The second thing that I did was throw myself into something that would force me to learn or to grow. And so that meant listening to 3 different podcasts while I did my work. And the 3 podcasts that I chose were super strategic. One was something from Super Soul Sunday, because I really wanted to listen to someone and something inspirational. Another podcast episode that I listened to was Keep It from Crooked Media, which I'm obsessed with them, but Ira Madison III, and just talking about pop culture and the intersection of politics made me laugh, and it forced me, really out of my head. And then the third episode that I listened to this morning was the Balanced Blondes podcast. The episode that came out this week was with Guru Jagat, and as someone who practices Kundalini, it was amazing to hear her share so much. So I really wanted to listen to some things that would take me totally out of my head. The third thing I did was during my break, because I have to structure breaks into my day, I took a walk, and half of that walk meant listening to music. The other half of that walk meant listening to absolutely nothing. And so, not to say that these 3 things would work necessarily for you, but for me, this is what really helped. And getting myself out of my head, out of the negative self-talk, and reminding myself that it's okay. And because half the battle is reminding yourself that everything in the external environment is actually okay. It's okay. It's okay that you're not where you want to be right now. It's okay that you woke up in a bad mood or struggling or upset about something. It's temporary. And that's the other end of it too, is remember it's temporary. I also saw something on Instagram that said, you have survived 100% of your bad days. Hell yeah, we have. And we're going to continue to survive those bad days moving forward. So every day is not going to be a good day, but I am convinced that we can find something wonderful in that day. We're going to have setbacks. We're going to have moments of frustration. Give yourself a break. Do what you can today to kind of switch up your mindset, switch up what you're doing, reach out to someone, listen to something that inspires you, do something to get your body moving, because when you switch up the energy, it makes such a big difference. You don't have to be at the top of your game, every single day. No one is happy all the time. And I think someone might think at first glance at looking at this podcast might think, wow, this chick is happy all the time. She's always in a state of joy. Hell no, I'm not. I spend 95% of my time seeking that joy. And that's why I'm so happy and excited to have these conversations and bring people on who can share, about like what is bringing them joy. What have they done? What have they started in their life that they're passionate about that now they've turned into a full-time career or business? For me, it's about showing myself first, and then showing anyone else who wants to listen and be part of it that this is possible for us too. If someone else has done it, hell yeah, we can too. So friends, thank you for listening. Take care of yourself today. Take care of yourself every day. Be kind. Be patient with yourself. Be compassionate. I started this podcast feeling really emotional and upset, and I can't tell you how talking for 15 minutes to myself, but to all of you, has really helped me. So don't be a stranger. Reach out to someone in your life. Reach out to me. Reach out to whoever. It's about building up ourselves and building up our community and really remembering that we're not alone. Okay, that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. As always, thank you for being part of this really wonderful and kind, compassionate, and supportive community. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys back here next week.